faith on our behalf in appointing this Board of Trustees to steward the responsibility of safeguarding the library through its bylaws and establishing policies to hold the library to a standard which the community of Douglas County at large shall be proud of. While my appeal addressed 4 books in your catalog, The Hips on the Drag Queen, All Boys Aren't Blue, Jack of Hearts, and This Book is Gay, what I will address at this time that I have here is the greater question of how and why these materials that so boldly introduce graphic sexual activities, sexual perversions, while appealing to an audience of minors are found in greater quantity in this library catalog. In your library's commitment, you state that the library welcomes everyone. And I agree with you here, everyone is welcome at the library. And you also state that you offer our community exceptional care supporting their freedom and self-determination, which again, I couldn't agree more. You then state that you will inform customer choice impartially, without interference or improper influence. Now, this is where the gray area begins with this library. You go on to say that your commitment to welcoming requires that your decisions and practices are free from discrimination and individual content preferences. Noting that identity and beliefs or associations will not distort your decisions and practices, such as not being influenced by politics, social stances, faith positions, and more. My question then is, under what framework will your decisions be made? In my appeal response from Library Executive Director Bob Pashnik, I was informed that decisions in this review would fall within the legal and policy guardrails of the library operating boundaries, and that he would examine and verify staff work and data surrounding the titles in question to determine if the library's collection work was performed appropriately within these boundaries. The First and 14th Amendment are cited as foundational to public library decision-making. In both of those amendments, I see no protection for introducing or exposing children to sexual content. I see no protection for encouraging children to read books which introduce them to the idea of using sex apps for anonymous sex with random partners, or detailing how 2 men can pleasure each other, such as in This Book is Gay, which according to the response to my appeal is uniformly recommended to minors ages 14 to 17. I see no protection for exposing children to books containing themes of sexual assault and even incest, such as in All Boys Aren't Blue, which according to the response to my appeal is uniformly recommended for ages 14 to 18. Again, including minors. I see no protection for sharing with children sex advice from a promiscuous high schooler, such as in the book Jack of Hearts, which, according to the response to my appeal, is uniformly recommended for minors aged 13 to 17. Your peer comparisons will tell that these titles are uniformly in inventories in libraries nationwide, and that is one justification for cataloging these in Douglas County. I am told that 2 Supreme Court cases, one from 1943 and another from 1969, are foundational to these issues and have set precedents for legislation to dispute before courts. Both cases assert that citizens are protected against the state itself. Neither case draws any conclusion as to whether a library should be used as an activism platform with its materials, nor that tax dollars should be spent on materials that are popular in order to stay relevant and appear as more of a retail environment as opposed to a cultural standard-setting organization which should enrich lives and culture around it. What I see in this library is a lack of regard to any moral framework or the upholding of any cultural standard. I do, however, see a library tempted to move towards appeasing the tastes of a small, yet loud, select few individuals and groups in order to adapt to what is currently popular. Library policy states that you will select work corresponding to customer demand. Where does this demand originate? Does the demand, in fact, come from community interest in asking for these titles in question to be added to the catalog? Or does this demand come from librarians relying upon publishers to fill their material requests and do so in accordance to what publishers believe is popular or in demand? I believe by the library director's own assertions, the latter is the case. The only community demand that I have seen was after the fact, when these titles were questioned, local political organizations rallied together to check out and put holds on these books to artificially increase their demand. The hypocrisy here is seeing a library make decisions with interference and improper influence from groups such as the Douglas County Democrats, the American Library Association, and other progressive political organizations. Of considerable note, and a cautionary part of the library policy mentioned in decision-making, is a position to curate content specifically for children, but to do so within a world of ideas. Is teaching children how to find sexual partners through sex apps part of this world of ideas? Or is the world of ideas which you aim to perpetuate authored by social activists such as author Harris Kornstein, who you may know as Little Miss Hot Mess, or the author of the book The Hips on the Drag Queen? Little Miss Hot Mess is an activist first and an author second. He organizes Drag Queen Story Hour and offers a great way to further introducing children to hypersexualized entertainment and graphic sexual depictions in storybooks, graphic novels, and other written materials in public libraries. You want to see evidence of harm, not just assertions, when addressing appeals to limited catalog content? Well, Colorado Library Law 249601 Part 6 refers to library filtering of the internet. Section 4 defines a minor as any person who has not attained the age of 17 years. The goal is to protect children in libraries while using the internet from content that is harmful to minors. Means any picture, image, graphic image file, or other visual depiction that with respect to minors appeals to having or encouraging an excessive interest in sexual matters, in nudity, sex, excretion, or depicts, describes, or represents in a patently offensive way with respect to what is suitable for minors an actual or simulated sexual act or sexual contact, an actual or simulated normal or perverted sexual act, or a lewd exhibition of the genitals, and taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value to minors. We protect children while on the internet in the public library, yet we refuse to do the same with regard to printed material purchased with our tax dollars for this catalog. But what I see in this library is not an effort to protect the community's most vulnerable and innocent. I see a library that has adopted the Urban Library Council's Race and Social Equity Statement. The Urban Library Council's Equity Statement, which this library has adopted, states that libraries are trusted, venerable, and enduring institutions central to their communities and an essential participant in the movement for racial and social equity. Back to the library's commitment, noting that identity and beliefs or associations will not distort your decisions and practices, such as not being influenced by politics, social stances, faith positions, and more. Our Douglas County Library has signed on to a social equity cause, taken a social stance influenced by politics, and this should be troubling to this community as a whole. Now let me end with this. These 4 appeals are just the beginning. These appeals, these conversations that we've been having will continue, so long as material that exposes children to obscene sexual content is maintained and purchased by this library. So long as this catalog holds material which could cause harm to children, I will continue to be in the way. Thank you.
Thank you.